What happens when a presenter stops trying to look perfect and instead lets the audience see who they really are? On today's show, we're diving into the power of being genuine, the kind of power that strips away the feeling that someone's performing so your message lands with unmistakable truth. And we got a seasoned coach and a keynote speaker and a podcaster who's built his entire approach around showing every flaw and imperfection and teaching leaders to do the same so their guidance actually sticks. You ready? Let's go.
The Presentation Whisperer. Real-world tips, expert insights, and proven strategies to make every presentation unforgettable. Now, here's your host, professional speaker, and best-selling author, Rob Jolles.
Today's guest, J.M. Ryerson, built and sold 3 companies while doubling client revenue consistently. He advises executives on culture, leadership, and scalable high-performance systems, and he hosts the global Let's Go Win podcast, inspiring leaders to live intentionally. And may I add, he's got almost 500 of them, so he's not messing around. I'm going to let him take it from here. He'll do a better job of introducing himself than I will. So, JM, the floor is yours. Tell us about your journey a little bit.
Rob, good to see you, brother. I appreciate you. And yeah, man, it's been a fun ride, bumpy ride, as I think as most of us have gone through. I built and sold 3 companies in the financial service world, knowing very little about financial services. That's the funny part is if you were to ask me those questions, I'm the wrong guy. But what I learned early on is what I was good at, and that's why what I do today. So sales, leadership, building teams, got that down. Doesn't really matter what the product is. I'm all about building those teams. So anyway, built and sold 3 of those, and then I wrote my first book called Let's Go Win, Keys to Living Your Best Life. And I actually wrote it for my 2 sons. My wife and I have 19 and 16-year-old boys. And it just took me on the Let's Go Win journey, man. The whole idea is to inspire people to live their best lives. And I get to do that a little bit, as you mentioned, on the podcast. I get a chance to work with my clients, in the business world. And every day, Rob, I get a chance to be a small part of them living their best lives. So I feel pretty blessed, man. Overall, it's a great thing to be able to do every single day.
Yeah. Well, I will say this. You're one of the most positive people I've met because we've had a conversation before this, a conversation before we went on. And, you as a podcast host, you get the feel of the guest before the light goes on. And I'm telling you, this is who he is, light on, light off. This is the guy, okay? So it's nice. You truly are authentic. I know that many presenters, our instinct is, let's just hide every flaw that we got. But you believe that the opposite approach would probably serve us better. Walk me through that a little bit.
So I'll give everybody just for a second, think back to a big award show, the Oscars, Grammys, something like that. And I want you to think of somebody that gets up there and they sound perfect. They say everything, they thank everybody perfectly. Okay. Now, I want you to think of somebody that gets up there and literally goes up there. They're crying, they're kind of slobbering, they're all over the map. Now, which one do you remember, Rob,
right,
a year later, 2 years later, 5 years later? Which one actually affected you? And to me, it's the one, it's not the perfect one, it's the person that actually showed some real emotion. And that sat with me because A, perfection is the enemy of greatness, in my opinion. And B, I don't know how to operate any other way, man. It's like, this is what you get. Good, bad, indifferent, this is what you got, man. Yeah. And I stopped pretending. Now, I will say, early in my career, I didn't. I tried to look a certain way and sound a certain way and wear the 3-piece suit. And it just wasn't me. The truth is, Rob, I'm a kid from Montana that likes to wear jeans and a T-shirt. So that's what you get, man. And some people really resonate with that and some people don't. And here's the trick. That's life. Not everybody's going to like you. Now, I want to put my best foot forward, but I'm going to do it in my authentic way. And I'll tell you, brother, it just took so much stress off. It allowed me to really connect with audiences and raise my impact, ultimately helping them because I'm just be myself. So that's kind of my philosophy, and it's just the only way I really know how to show up anymore.
Yeah. You know, I wrote a piece one time, and I know this sounds trite, but I think you'll connect with it. I was trying to work on this topic of why people don't believe us. And you know, I had to build a book around it, but the bottom line was the easiest way to be believed is to tell the truth. You know, and we're so often kind of trying to massage it and hide it and kind of work around it. When we tell the truth, the audience knows. And they know because I think we physically change. We kind of light up a little bit, you know?
I think that's spot on. You know, you've spoken, I don't know how many thousands of times,
Right.
and you go into those rooms with people have their arms crossed. We've all been there where you are not really welcome. And the fastest way to actually connect is exactly what you said. Just tell them something about yourself that's personal, something that they can relate to. Now, I'm not suggesting it always has to be negative. It could be something that, you know, I woke up and I stubbed my toe and, things can happen. But often it can be personal. Like I talk about the death of my dad because it allows people to really see me as not just a speaker now, but a human being that has feelings and really has gone through these emotions because we're all humans. At the end of the day, I don't care if you're a banker or a real estate agent or whatever your title is, you're a human being first and foremost. So as a speaker, all I'm trying to do is connect you heart to heart. And especially when we're in front of audiences, we don't have the barrier like we do right now. Like right now we have a screen between us, a couple microphones. So that's blocking our hearts. It's harder to connect that way. Now, are there things you can do? Of course. But one of the things that's like I'm talking about now is just being open, being authentic, being vulnerable. That allows people to actually see that, oh, this guy's not full of crap. He's actually a human being that has feelings, and maybe I do want to listen to him.
Yeah. I think, well said. I think the toughest part is the beginning. And so I'm curious of your opinion here. I want to get real, and I want to tell you about me. I'm cautioning, I'm worried a little bit about coming out of the gate with something that's negative as opposed to positive. So let's just talk about getting real in the beginning of the presentation. What does it look like when you first take the stage? How real are we at that point, if you could break that down a little?
Yeah, so I don't know how many thousands of speeches I've given, but I always have an intro prepared. Mm-hmm. Not once, Rob. 0 times have I actually delivered what I wrote the day before, the week before, the year before. I have never delivered the same intro to any audience because I'm reading the room. Something happens situationally. I'm just being present in the moment. And what I've found is that people can relate to that. So I don't know if you go in and let's say I went into where the mic didn't work and it was a pretty large audience. I'm not going to talk about my canned rehearse. I'm going to say, wow, this kind of sucks. I'm going to have to yell today. I'm going to lose my voice. You know, this is life. I mean, I'm going to go into a story about how it is going to affect what I'm trying to do. And the truth is, that's just the way life is. It's imperfect, as you said. That's just part of what it is. So I guess what I would say is I'm straight away out of the gate. I always prepare something, and immediately as I get on stage, I know that it's probably going to adapt and change. Now, I might bring pieces in, but for the most part, that intro and the outro, if you will, the exit, those are the least rehearsed parts of anything I do.
Wow. And here's where we're very different. Because now I'm working off a process. So in other words, I have a guide. I'm going to give them what's in it for them. I'm going to give them a sense of the big picture. I'm going to give them where we're going, how we're going to get there, and why I'm talking about it. How I deliver that, oh, that's all up in the air. Okay. But I'm still going to get that. It'll be in about the first 4 minutes or so. You know, I learned a lesson. I'm curious how you react to this. The very first book I ever wrote, way back in 1993, I wrote a book on presentation skills, and I had a New York editor, John Wiley & Sons, who said, looked at my preface. The very first story I told was a story about me missing a flight Okay, I got on the wrong plane. Back in '93, you could get on the wrong plane if you weren't paying attention and they weren't paying attention. And there were no bells that went off except when they said, "Call me out," and I watched the other plane leave. But my point is this: I talked about how I scrambled, and the editor said, "Listen, I'm 2 pages in, and all I know so far is you're a schmuck who can't get on the right plane." She said, "I love the story, but how about we start them with where you caught the plane? And then when we warm them up, tell them about the one you missed." So that's where I'm coming from I'm authentic, I'm real, I'll read the room, something happened on the way there, but I don't typically, I'll wait to tell the one where I don't look so good after we warm up a little bit.
Yeah, well, there's a couple things that are happening there that are,
Yeah.
I think the guy talking to you, it's smart, right? Emotional intelligence, having that as a speaker is really important. You need to read your audience at the end of the day because, look, if they're still crossing their arms while you're 4 minutes in, you haven't reached one of them. And so whatever you're trying to say, if they're still shut down to you, they're not going to hear a word you have to say.
Right.
So I guess that's really my philosophy is when I go in, I'm very clear. It's not about me. That saying for me changed everything in the presentation world because if I'm thinking about myself, now I'm thinking, how do I sound? How do I look? Everything is me, me, me. Well, guess what? Now I'm starting to really just focus on the wrong person. The truth is when I come into that room, I want to impact these people. So the first thing I'm trying to do is open you up. So now I can tell you exactly what you just said. Here's what we're about to accomplish. Here's why that matters to you. Everything is focused on them. But in my opinion, I got to break them open first.
Right.
And many times, if you don't get a great intro, like today, you did a great intro on this podcast. Gave me some credibility as I came in. How many times have you spoke, Rob, where somebody's like, well, and here's Rob. And you're like, oh, thanks for building it up. I really appreciate the credibility. They don't know who Rob is. And now you are starting from that point where, gosh, I really got to get there. And so I think every audience is just slightly different. But for me, it's not about me. And it's really opening them up. So now I can deliver.
Yeah. Well, we're on, JM and I, we share a bunch of things, okay? And one of them is this right here. You can ask me 20 questions. If it has to deal with presenting, somewhere in every single answer will be, well, what does the audience want? What is the audience thinking? How does the audience feel? What if the audience... I don't care about me. I'm caring about the audience. That's how I make a living, caring about the audience. So you're not losing me on this one. I'm just curious how you let go of perfection. This is maybe you and I'll write this book someday because I've always talked about. I think there's a book out there called Instinct versus Logic. Okay, how many things we do that are instinctive that have no logic whatsoever. Okay, and one instinct, for instance, is where we're at right here. Is I want to be completely perfect. Oh, good. So you won't be relatable, and every analytical person out there is going to be gunning for you, but. How did you personally learn to let go of perfection, particularly in presenting where the instinct is, I want to be as perfect as possible?
Well, I think a couple things happen. I was an athlete growing up, and anybody that's an athlete, you know it's not perfect. You know that you're going to probably fail more than you succeed. And so I also did some acting and singing, and the truth is a couple. It's never going to be perfect. And the other thing is, if you don't make it a big deal, the audience won't either. So here's an example. If I make a mistake and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I can't believe I made that mistake. Well, now everybody knows I made this mistake. Versus, I don't know, I said something, it was a mistake. Unless it's factually incorrect, I don't need to point it out. It was just a mistake. The audience may or may not have even seen it. And I think for me, there was just a freedom to saying, life's not perfect, man. Like your entire life, it's not been perfect, nor is anybody that you're looking at. So why are we going to put on this charade like I'm going to be up there talking perfect? It's so robotic. Right. And I don't think people really respond to robotics and robots. So I guess that's for me is probably the athlete and the singing background would be my guess.
Yeah. Well, I just want to put some wind behind that a little bit. Personally, if you asked me, name the 10 worst things you can do in a presentation, I would say number one, so I'm not messing around here, is make the audience feel sorry for you. There's no coming back from that. So listen, we all stumble. We all, I mean, literally, physically stumble. If it shakes you up, it shakes them up. If you roll it out, like taking a charge in basketball, or do something and come up and truly convince them, that didn't bother me. Here, look, I'm going to fall over here now for you. Then you got the audience back. But it's hard coming back from making an audience feel sorry for you. And there's that instinct again, right? So it's a great message you're delivering. I just want to reinforce it that there is no perfection, and sometimes the best parts will be the imperfection. Think about, are you a married guy?
I am 20
Okay.
years, brother.
All right. I'm sure that no matter how hard you planned that wedding, it went perfectly. No, it did. About 90% maybe, okay? Let's give the meeting planner the benefit of the doubt there. But it's the 10% that not only will that audience remember, but they'll embrace it. It'll be their favorite part of the wedding. Now we're just stepping on stage as presenters. It's the same thing.
It's a great example. And actually, I have one. I played basketball in college, and they asked me to sing the national anthem because they knew I did both.
Ooh.
Now, right before I went on there, the kid named Casey Ridgway, if he's listening, Casey, thanks a lot for what he did. He goes, I've seen 2 people try to do this, athletes go sing, and they always forget the words. He literally said that right before I go up to sing. And so I get up there, and sure enough, brother, I am midway through the Star Spangled Banner, and I go blank. I mean, I can't remember. I look to my bench, nobody's helping me. I look back over here, and this coach starts feeding me the words, and okay, now I'm back. And to your point, was it embarrassing? Yeah, it sucks to forget, but you know what? There was never a bigger cheer. Everybody got involved. Everybody's singing now. And it was one of those moments where it's like, dude, that was about as imperfect as it gets. You literally forgot the nation's, the Star Spangled Banner, for God's sakes. And yet now everybody really got into it. And that's life, man. That's just
Right.
the way it goes.
Right. And imagine if you had dropped your shoulders and looked crestfallen, what that would have done to the arena, right? Now they're feeling sorry for you. And now, well, you got a game to play, but I wouldn't want to be giving a presentation after that. I hope you scored 30 that night.
I played pretty well. If I remember, it was about 18 points, about 7 boards. So it was a good night.
Funny how he's got it. Rebounds and points. Good. You remember how many assists you had that night?
I don't recall.
Gotcha.
On that. I know I probably had about 4 fouls. I didn't foul out, but it wasn't uncommon for me to foul out.
Well, you're physical. All right, let's go to this Let's Go Win podcast. And again, congratulations on that. I interview a bunch of people that have podcasts. When I see over 400, 450, close to 500, I know somebody has just been grinding away on this, but we don't grind away at it if we don't love it. Okay, so how does the style of honesty and vulnerability that we're talking about right now, how does that shape the way you interview a guest?
Yeah, when I go in, I always try to, again, put myself as the audience. I'm not asking from my point of view, but I'm asking what would the audience want to know? So I don't prepare a bunch of questions. I don't do a deep dive. And I don't care how famous, quote unquote, they are. I treat everybody the same when they come on as a guest. I do the background just like you did. I love the way you do the intro. You do a concise. I think that's smart. And so I do a similar idea. And then I just ask organic questions, just like we're doing right now. We're having a good conversation because I think that's what people really want. They want it to be relatable. Those canned responses, I had actually, this is funny, Rob. I don't know about you. I had a guy on. He's one of the more famous people I've had on. He is a pro. He was one of the worst podcast guests I ever had because I could not get him off of just canned responses.
Yeah.
It didn't matter. And that's his pitch. That's his thing. And I'm like, it may sell more books on stage, but as a podcast guest, you're not a great one to have because it was just so dry. And so I always try to crack them of that, bring that shell out so people can actually relate to them a little bit.
Yeah, and people feel it. You said a few things there. First of all, I'm going to go to the last thing. You said sell more books on stage. I'm leaving the podcast world. I'm going to tell you my opinion. I, to this day, have never sold a book in a seminar in my life. I never will. That's the way it is. People pay me pretty good money to come out and give that presentation. I'm there to entertain and inspire, but daggone it, I'm there to teach too. I usually look at my client and ask them, look, I don't think it sends the right message to say, did you really enjoy this? Well, then great. I'll be in the corner making change. I'm selling tuna sandwiches, watches, and books. I forget it. I'll tell them, listen, happy to bring 2 books, and I'll give them away. But I'm not looking to build profit in the sale of these books. Let's bring in 150. I'll sign every single one of them. And if you want to actually implement this message, let's do it together. And I'll even, I don't want any of my meeting planners listening, I'll even pick up my airfare. You and I have a few miles in the air, okay? I'll get that airfare. I'll do whatever I can so that group gets a book. But what I won't do is start making change and selling books. And by the way, I'm going to take a loss anyway because no matter how many I sell, it's going to cost me more to ship them there and ship them back, the ones that don't go. So let's get this book thing taken care of.
So agree with you because you and I are the same on that.
Right.
Beforehand, if they want books, great. Buy them. I'll send them over. Great. But I am so with you on that. Again, I want to focus on the audience. I don't want to focus on, well, now I'm going to shift to my infomercial about my book. Right. It wouldn't be natural for me, and I wouldn't be any good at it anyway. So I totally agree with you on that.
Yeah. And, going back to the guests you were mentioning, how many times, maybe when you're guesting or if the guest has asked you, people have said to me, do you want me to send you the questions? And I go, what, are you out of your mind? Because you're going to strip away my authenticity. I'm assuming we're not going to be talking about splitting an atom here today. Okay? If we talk about authenticity with you and you talk about, pick a topic with me and we've agreed on it, let's go. Let's have that conversation. I always think of it, let's pretend we're going to Starbucks, you and me. Grab a cup of coffee, sit down. Don't filibuster. Because, one more thing. Because I knew I had a podcast guy on today, I did not put a timer up for you. I actually physically put up a timer on my podcast now that counts down of how long you're going to tell your story for at the beginning. Because I don't want this going on and on. Get it said and let's get to work.
Yeah, no, I think, again, there's so much synergy here. Think of politics. People go up there, these politicians, and what do people hate about it? They know it's not an honest response. It's
right.
Something they're media trained and they say a certain thing. That's not what this world's all about. Think of the best host, if you consider Joe Rogan or, I don't know, Stephen Bartlett, or think of those hosts. They do a great job having a conversation. It's not prepared, organized, like, I'm going to ask you this question, and this is the response. Like, nobody likes that.
Right.
That's the beauty of podcasts. And I think, Rob, as you and I talked, that's why I caught the bug, man. I love meeting people. I love meeting interesting people. Whether I'm hosting or I'm a guest, let's have a cool conversation and learn something today.
Yeah. Do you write a blog?
To say I write a blog, yes, I write articles for my own personal blog, but not consistently like I used to.
Well, like you used to, because this might be something else we share, although I'm still writing my blog. But 16 years ago, I started writing a blog. I actually trademarked the term blarticle. I wanted a blog article. I didn't want to just talk about, remember, we're presenters. I'm not here to tell you I ate a tuna sandwich unless there's something in it for you about this tuna sandwich. So I wanted that combination of what's in it for the audience. But I will tell you, when you and I both caught the bug at the same time, I thought, I've been sitting in here practically in a closet writing these blogs and blarticles, and here I get to meet this guy who does what I do, who's got the energy that I have, who's teaching me a few things about authenticity, who's extending my network. How can you not fall in love with this? I really enjoy it, particularly when I get guests like you on. But truly, it's so much better than a blog. I'll still write them because it keeps me in writing shape. But boy, there's no combination, there's no comparison between the two.
Well, and I agree with you again. I had my best friend on the podcast. Now, 30 years of a friendship. I know everything about this human being. I thought. And then I had him on the podcast, and guess what? I asked even deeper questions, and I learned something more about him professionally, the way he thought. And that's to your point, Rob. It's like, gosh, we ask deeper questions on this. You get to really know. And then, you know how many people in my life that I do life with and business with because of podcasts? That's why I will always do it. I love it.
Yeah. And you know what else bailed us out a little bit here? The fact that we have some sales in our background. Because what do we do when we're on our game as salespeople? We go deeper. You know, look, anybody can spit out features and benefits. Anybody can talk about their book or whatever they want. But when you learn how to not just ask a question, but to go deeper into that question, which great salespeople do, it's nice to transfer over here and say, "Ooh, I just get to go deeper in conversations." So I think that bailed us out a little bit quietly. We may not have known it, but it definitely helped.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I actually got to work with a group the other day, and same thing. They're superstar. You know what he's great at? He builds relationships. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
And he gets referrals. That's it.
Yeah.
If you want to be great at sales, you just heard it. Build relationships, get referrals. That's what Gino does incredibly well. That's his name. And same thing, just like you and I. Hey, Rob, who do you know that'd be great for, the Presentation Whisperer show? Hey, Rob, who would be great for Let's Go Win? And we do that, to your point. It's sales because sales is life, in my opinion. You ask questions, you build a relationship, and you get referrals. That's literally, and that's what's so funny to me, not to get into the sales world, but those are the great salespeople. They do those two things.
Yeah, I had a guy one time, I was doing a seminar for one of the banks out in Minnesota, and he said, my dad's got this book from 1927. It's a sales book that they used to give all the Northwest insurance reps. And he said, it was a 2-day workshop. Bring it in tomorrow. I said, let me see that. Had a guy with a fedora on his head, whistling, and walking with his briefcase. First sentence in the book. Great salespeople have to ask questions and listen. It's not like we're reinventing this. Anyway, all right, last question for you. I could spend all day with you. For somebody who's listening and maybe a little bit anxious about showing a little bit too much, because that's what we're talking about, letting the audience, within reason, see us as real, vulnerable people. We're not robots. What would be a step that you'd suggest if they're going to dip their toe in this water and just show a little bit more of their authentic self?
Yeah, I think, again, that's the self-awareness. Check in.
Yeah.
What is a story that you're willing to share with, I don't know, most people, and you're not going to have anxiety about it.
Right.
You probably, again, I talk about my dad and his passing. That's a big step for people, especially because of the content that it is. So maybe that's too much for you, but maybe talking about the fact that, I don't know, your relationship challenge that you're having. Feel free to open up on that because it doesn't define your relationship. Everybody's gone through it, and just dip your toe in the water. And I think what most people will find, Rob, as you have, it feels pretty good.
Yeah.
There's actually a therapeutic feel to sharing with someone, you know what happened to me? Can I share with you guys something? And you just kind of let them in on what's going on inside your world. And now they're like, oh man, I've done that too. So I think it's just check in. Don't go to, I don't know, the most thing that you want to keep a secret. Don't go to that one. Find something that, you know what, I've been willing to share it. And I want to put it out there. It's not going to give me anxiety. So just check in with your body a little bit.
Yeah. Just don't tell them that you missed the flight to your seminar. I learned that we don't want to open a book that way. But yeah, it's I think that really allows us to connect. And don't be afraid to balance it out a little bit later. If we come in a little bit vulnerable, you can tell a story where you really knocked it out of the park. I just don't want to overload one side or the other. Absolute pleasure meeting you today. Really enjoyed it. I'm not pushing myself on your show. I don't guest a whole lot now, but if I do guest, I'll guest on your show. I like the conversation we're having. I know it's got to be a great show. I did check it out on Listen Notes, and I walked around. So make sure what's the name of that show again, so we remind people?
Thank you, brother. Let's Go Win podcast, and you'd be an awesome guest. If I haven't already connected my team, 100%, we got to make sure that happens because this is too fun. I
promise I wasn't pushing you with that, but I'm trying to make it sound like, because it's true that there aren't a whole lot of podcasts that I enjoy guesting on, I'll do it. We got to go part 2. How do people get a hold of you?
Yeah, man, letsgowin.com. Anything Let's Go Win, you'll see my stuff. And there is a bunch of free stuff on the website. The blog is there. But yeah, you know what? If anybody's interested in whatever we're talking about, connect. Don't be afraid. You know, so often, Rob, I don't know about you, I say that. How few people actually take the opportunity, and I see them later and they're like, oh, I heard your show. I wanted to connect, but I didn't. Why? I'm a human being. Connect with me. So send me a DM. I'm glad to get back to you. You know,
and I'll add something to that too. And when you see something of his on LinkedIn, put a like on it. Throw a comment on it. Believe me, we read every single one of them. It means a lot to us. So don't stand on the sidelines. Even if you throw a like on it, I wouldn't mind a comment. But even if you throw a like on it, guys like the two of us, we appreciate and we see it. So anyway, all right, lots of good lessons. Wonderful meeting you. Terrific job today. Grateful you were on. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
Well, we'll do it again as well as we can next time, everybody. Until then, stay safe.
Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's show, please follow, rate, and review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen. For more resources and to connect with Rob, visit thepresentationwhisperer.com.